Let's cut the romantic fantasy. You've been there. You're talking to a woman, the energy is electric, and then suddenly she goes cold. She laughs at your joke 1 minute, leaves you on red the next. It's a psychological roller coaster. And you end up asking the most pathetic question in the dating lexicon. Do they even like me? I'm here to tell you two things. First, you're not crazy. Second, the confusion is intentional. Attraction is not a gentle, clear cut line, my guys. It is chaotic, right? It's inconsistent and often contradictory, especially in the early stages. The clarity you're craving, it's rare, and it's actually a sign that the polarity, the essential friction that creates attraction, hasn't even been established yet. And then you've got all these gurus online, and they say stuff like, just be confident, right? Without telling you how. That is empty advice, my guys. We dive into the science of why interest feels confusing. Come on, what the silence actually means, and the subtext you need to read to dominate the ambiguity. We're validating your confusion right now on Plant the Spark so we can equip you to crush those mixed signals later. This episode opens up the arc, baby. Let's decode the chaos. Let's call this next segment Why Clarity is the Enemy of Attraction, right? We're getting into the science of ambiguity, my guys, uncertainty. We need to understand why high value attraction is structurally inconsistent. It comes down to two psychological forces. And baby, these are strong. Guys, if you don't know these, you are playing at a disadvantage. You are down by 25 points and the game just started, my dudes. And number one is the principle of uncertainty, the competence test, right? Look, what is the problem? If a partner's interest is 100% predictable, and guaranteed from day one, you devalue it. You lose the cognitive challenge. The science behind this shows, right? Research shows that intermittent reinforcement, something I talk about a lot here on Plant the Spark, baby. You know, a reward system that's inconsistent. Sometimes you reward, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you reward quickly, sometimes you reward in a long time later, right? Look, this is super powerful. It is super addictive, and it's way more powerful than continuous reinforcement, right? I mean, think about it like this, right? If you're always giving people compliments, the compliment becomes hollow, right? What intermittent reinforcement does is it creates excitement, hope, and addiction, baby. And when she's hot and cold, she's unintentionally or intentionally using intermittent reinforcement. She is testing your competence and autonomy, guys. Look, you're in a good spot. And what does the ethically masculine man do in a situation like this? He understands and recognizes that ambiguity is a test. He doesn't chase the hot signal, and he certainly doesn't panic over the cold signal. Guys, here at Plant the Spark, our fire starters maintain their emotional regulation. They hold their frame. He knows that if he chases the fleeting signal, he signals low value. He sacrifices his mission for validation. And that is pathetic, and that is weak, and that is clingy, and that is not hot. That is not attractive, and that is not ethically masculine. Now, There's also the role of polarity, right? Number two, the friction factor, my guys. Look, in the early stages, attraction, it's not about comfort, right? It's actually not about comfort. It's about friction. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, man, but you have got to establish a strong masculine feminine dynamic, right? And you cannot do that if everything is safe and agreeable from the jump. These are things that happen after you get into a relationship, and then you still maintain a little bit of that mystery, curiosity, tension. The science behind this is obvious, right? They say that polarity in psychological terms is the necessary difference in energy. When interest feels confusing, it's often because your dynamic is shifting between comfort, which is that friend zone area that we all hate so much, and challenge, right? So you're not stuck in the friend zone yet, my guys. This is a good spot to be in. Clarity only exists when you settle into comfort, and then comfort is where desire dies. You want to desire you, baby? The eminently feminine woman, what's her perspective? Look, she is wired to want a man who provides both safety and excitement. Safety and excitement. Confusion is the manifestation of her brain testing which one you are, essentially. Are you the safe, predictable friend, right? Great, great as a friend, great for, girls' night. Or are you the challenging, exciting leader? Now, she needs to see that you're structured enough to lead, but autonomous enough not to need her. Lead, don't need. That is the ethically masculine way, baby. Lead, you never need. All right, look, let's decode some of the subtext here, right? Some of the signals. What does silence mean? What does true interest look like, right? Forget the cliches about playing hard to get, first of all. Look, we're not some Instagram or TikTok advice channel here. We go deep with real psychological principles. Let's look at the subtext first. The silent communication that reveals the true state of attraction. The ethically masculine man reads the following signals, knowing that actions outweigh words. Let me say that again. Actions outweigh words, my guys. So what does it look like if she says she's busy, right? Right. The apparent text is that she's genuinely busy, right? Maybe uninterested. The subtext, she's testing you, right? She's testing your autonomy and non-neediness. Now, guys, if you panic, right, you triple text, right, you fail that test miserably. You look like a simp, guys. You look like a loser. You definitely don't look like the kind of man that can lead her. Now, if you respond calmly, right, and you proceed with your own mission, you signal, I value. Now, what happens if, she takes a different approach, right? Let's say she's overly complimentary, right? Now, the apparent text here would be she's super into you, man. The subtext, she might be trying to lock you down as a safe resource, right? The warning sign is if the compliment focuses on your availability or kindness rather than your competence and your mission, watch out, baby. The friend zone is coming. The friend zone is coming. You need to look at women who want to be a part of your mission, who see you as confident and competent. What about the maybe answer, right? Chicks love the maybe answer. And the apparent text here is she's indecisive, which is possible. I mean, people are indecisive all the time, right? We're all indecisive. The subtext is she's waiting for you to lead, my guys, to decide on something. Dude, she wants to see if you have the competence to set an intentional plan and hold it. Be a man, an ethically masculine man. Be direct, be bold. Set that plan, baby. The psychology of silence, right? This is a big killer. This is a big killer of men's self respect and self esteem. Look, uh, silence is brutal, right? The non response. And this is where you have got to activate your ethical masculinity, my guys, because this is a big test. And this is one of the tests that really will tell a woman what kind of man you are. Look, if you're a supporter, and we've talked about the supporter role before, right? You're going to panic, you're going to overanalyze, you're going to fill the silence with another text. Yeah, don't do that, guys. No, stop it. You're going to sacrifice your mission for attention? Please. No, no. You're signaling that she's your oxygen tank, my guys. Attraction is murdered in that moment. It is killed. It is dead on arrival. The ethically masculine man's reaction, he interprets silence as autonomy granted. Thanks, honey. He takes the space to focus 100% on his mission. She's giving you space. Thank her. Your career, your fitness, pump the weights, my guys. Hit those finances, right? Take a side hustle, make a couple extra bucks, my dudes. You validate yourself when you trust that initial connection. It shows that you understand uncertainty and plus confidence, right? This sparks intrigue. The rule: if she pulls back, you double down on your mission. You become less available. Not rude at all. You are always warm because you're ethically masculine. And this is a lady that you're into, man. This is a woman you want, right? Be purposeful, not rude. You're just demonstrating that your life is full and vibrant with or without her attention. Lead, don't need. All right, guys, look, what's the blueprint for clarity? What are some of the strategies to force this polarity? You know I always give you the good stuff here, right? You know I'm always providing you the top level content because that's what I do. I do the research and I bring it to you. So you don't live in confusion. We use the confusion to establish clarity through action, baby. That's my plan. Step one: we are a judo master. We shift from supporter to leader. This shows autonomy. This shows competence. The ACR, baby. Confusion persists. Look, it persists when you remain the passive nice guy, right? You always hear about the bad guy getting the girl. It's not a bad guy. It's a guy with leadership ability, someone who's bold and can sort of stay in their mission, take direction, not needy. You gotta to master this leadership dynamic. Make decisions. Stop asking, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go to eat? You start with a plan, my dudes, a specific, intentional plan. Hey, we're going to meet at this new tapas place downtown at 7 p.m. on Friday. I'm going to text you the address on Thursday, all right? This signals competence. This signals leadership. Something else you can do, and I've talked about this before: schedule a solo date. Ensure the interactions are structured, intentional, and not just accidental group hangouts, my guys. This is why you got to take the bull by the horns, right? You've got to isolate the dynamic to build that sexual polarity. If her friends are hanging around or your bros are hanging around, dude, that is killing the frame. You are killing the context. You can't get hot if there's other people breathing down your neck. I mean, this ain't a menage a trois. I mean, look, if that's your thing, but this ain't a menage a trois. You're looking for monogamy, or maybe not, but you're looking for at least one lady. Guys, the bottom line is that you hold your frame on the minor test. When she gives her maybe, her vague response, kindly but firmly hold your original plan or boundary, right? An example: she says something like, "Oh, I can't make that time." Your response: "Got it. My schedule's locked until next Tuesday, but I'll text you then." That's beautiful. Come on now, you're showing power. Step two, you introduce the strategic flirtation, right? Flirt cues. The lack of clarity often means you're stuck in a comfort zone. You need to introduce the tension that says, I am not your brother, my dude. Look, Flirt cues and inject light, playful teasing, right? Give her just a little touch. This recalibrates her nervous system from safe friend to possible partner. And that's where you're trying to get, baby, right? You want to get in that bed. So, a script example. If she's talking too much about, like, I don't know, a safe topic, right? Use warm, intentional touch and say, "You're absolutely adorable when you get passionate about a topic, but I think you're trouble in a crowded room." It's a beautiful line, guys. It's cute, it's playful, it's flirty, it's edgy, right? Look, you also want to provide some intentional touch. Don't just high five. Use warm, intentional touch. A hand on the back of the neck during a goodbye, right? Just lightly. A lingering hand on the shoulder when she laughs. But this is the oldest, most powerful signal of relatedness and sexual tension in the book, my dudes. You have got to escalate. If she pulls back, pull back. Look, no is no, right? And then you try it again, maybe a little bit later. If she pulls back again, maybe back off and find someone new. All right. Step three, you want to build a hierarchical value, right? This shows competence and stability. Building your hierarchical value. The best way to eliminate confusing signals is to become so undeniably high value that her desire naturally becomes clear. Upgrade your freaking life. Focus on your career, fitness, financial growth, your mission. What is it? This is the ethically masculine man action plan. These improvements are nonverbal status signals that trigger the eminently feminine drive for stability and resourcefulness. You need to build non neediness. The foundation of all high value attraction, non neediness. Use the 3-second rule if you need to. If you feel the urge to text, wait for 3 seconds, channel that energy into the mission, right? When you've got the fingers up and you're ready to start pumping away, now, if you're ready to start typing away, pause, say, "Do I really need to send this text?" And then get in there and hit the gym. I don't care what you do. Read a book, make yourself more attractive. Put the energy into your mission, dudes. Look, my digital manual on non-neediness is the only blueprint for this, and it's here right now, baby. Look, fire starters, it is your choice to be the anchor. Confusion is a test. It is a sign that the polarity, right? That tension, that sexual energy, that tension is still being established. And you're either going to sink into the comfortable friend zone or you're going to rise up to the challenge. You are going to rise up as the challenging, ethically masculine leader that you should be. You have the blueprint, or at least you have access to the blueprint. Read the subtext of silence, my guys. Shift from supporter to leader. Force polarity with intentional friction, right? Stop asking if she likes you. Start acting like the man who is already worth the chase. You have got to make yourself the prize by believing it before she's going to. The eminently feminine woman, she seeks a man who is an anchor in a chaotic world. You are a touchstone, the man whose interest is clearly communicated through his competence and his purpose, not his words. Guys, if you want the exact scripts, the full detailed roadmap for building autonomy, competence, relatedness, these things that will make you irresistible, you know where to find the blueprints. These manuals are the only way to get the full ethical masculinity framework. Ladies, this is the only way to find the full eminent femininity framework. If this episode hit on something important, if you see something in your life, some mixed signals or some friend zone sort of trajectory that you want to get rid of, right? Like this video, subscribe to Plant the Spark. And if you haven't, why haven't you? Comment below. I will not chase the signal. Now go be a fire starter.